Hello and welcome to Everything Iconic. I'm here with the one and only Amy Phillips. Bravo. Should I even call you a Bravo-holic? Can I call you a Bravo-holic? You're a Bravo-holic.
With honor.
Amy, I was thinking you really paved the way for so many of us because I feel like you were one of the first to able to capitalize and sort of in a weird way make money with your love and affinity for Bravo.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. If you're gonna call me, a pathway, a path maker,
yeah,
I will accept it. I feel like I'm working my way up the stripe path. I don't know. I'm just kidding. If you watch The Vow, you get that joke. But the point of it is that I have my purple sash. I'm working my way to white in the Bravo universe, and Andy Cohen is my cult. So
you're the Bethany Frankel of
right
of the world.
I was selling my cookies. I was selling my impressions in a grocery store, and then look where I am now. I live in Glendale, California.
You were always my favorite when I used to get so excited. Like this was way before I started a podcast or anything. I would get so excited when I would see you on Watch What Happens Live, like doing, or they would even just like play the compilation videos of you doing the impressions because they just make me laugh so much.
Thanks,
and it would just warm my heart. Yeah.
It is a weird thing that to think about, like way back then, when you start to do something just for the love of it. And believe me, I still do it for the love of it. But, just following your passion and then to have it lead to, 10 years. I was actually going through my videos, first for us, there was a reason. I'm just home, like looking at my own videos. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many have I done? And I counted them up and it's like 60 videos for Watch What Happens Live. I was like, wow. Damn, that's a lot of wigs.
A lot of wigs. Do you have a wig closet or do you just have a trunk or what do you have?
Well, I've got in a closet on the shelf, I've got, the big wigs on the heads, the ones that you can't smash down, like the Lisa Rinna, the latest Ramona wig. Luann's in there. DJ James Kennedy is in there. Oddly, like a Lily Gallici from Shaws of Sunset.
Interesting.
But then the rest are in plastic bags and bins and like tubs labeled.
Cindy Barshup's just in your like hall closet, just on the floor in the corner.
My sock drawer. Yeah.
Well, speaking of wigs, Amy, we're going to just be talking about all sorts of Bravo stuff. I have some questions for you, but we're just going to be breaking down. I'm calling this sort of like the United States of Bravo or the state of the Bravo Union kind of address. We're just going to be talking about mentioning it all, if you will. And speaking of wigs, yesterday I was in a very vulnerable position, and I try to always live my truth behind the microphone and be honest with the listeners. And I was very, very vulnerable space. I think we're all kind of dealing with a lot emotionally. And at night, I was like, I'm going to close the bedroom door and I'm going to put on a rom-com. I was just looking for some Katherine Heigl to inject directly into my veins. And I put on my TV and it was stuck on like the Bravo app, like where I watch all the Bravo stuff, and the Apple TV like wouldn't exit out. And I was just in one of those places. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to have to watch something on this app. I can't figure out the technology of it. But as you can probably relate, a lot of watching Bravo can feel like work sometimes because we're talking about all these shows.
Right. So
I was looking for something that I hadn't watched on Bravo before, that I don't cover on the show, that I could just sort of mentally check out with. And I'm very sad to say this. I had a real crisis of faith. I decided to put on Don't Be Tardy, and I watched a bunch of episodes of Don't Be Tardy, and I'm not proud of that.
From this season?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I was very confused because I think I had missed a lot of. I didn't watch the show really. I'm aware of what it is. But suddenly I was watching this season, and I was shocked, bewildered. They're just on a bus this season. Are you watching it?
Thank you for asking. And I had a similar situation where I felt I was catapulted into watching it for a couple of reasons. There was a deficit of Bravo shows happening. So my producer of my show, Reality Check on Radio Annie, she and I were like, well, what are we going to recap on Wednesday for like this 2-week block of time? And we just kept coming back to like, no, we can't do Tardy for, I'm like, I have no space in my life for Tardy for, I just can't do it. I've watched it in the past. I've talked about it. it ended up where we just ended up we're like, we just have to cover the first 2 episodes because that we had one day where we just didn't have anything. And I didn't want to do like a best of. I didn't want to. Okay, so I watched the first 2 episodes, which was the premiere. And yes, I watched the whole situation. And I haven't gone back to follow up. But, I kind of betrayed my own self. And this is what always happens when I tune into Tardy for the party, which is that I don't want to have anything to do with that family. But then I turn it on. I'm like, Croy, you are so charming. Tracy, you're the life of the show. And it's really Croy and Tracy. It comes down to them. And
Tracy,
then honestly,
yeah.
Tracy,
which by the way, I just learned over the summertime that Tracy was on Top Chef, which I didn't know before.
Oh, yes. Yep. And also, she had this baby recently, and that was an interesting storyline too. And I love that when they're on the RV, she's like, Kim's like, Tracy's on vacation. She never gets this kind of time. And I'm like, she is not on vacation. She is working for you, cooking on a campground, stuck in an RV with you. Clearly, this is not fun for her. She bolted when you hit Ohio. Like, read the room. But yeah, it's I enjoyed parts of it, but I don't know if I can go back. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'll never watch it again. But it was certainly something that I had to do in the moment, and I'm very fascinated by the mechanics of behind the scenes of it. Like, how did they decide that we're going to do a road trip show? And I feel like I had heard that it was canceled for so long. So then I was shocked.
Probably was, and then they probably ran out of programming because of the pandemic. So then they were like, Kim, we're going to use this season that we thought we scrapped.
Throw the Biermans on a bus and film it. It's so bizarre, though. The production is chasing the RV in another car that sometimes... Yeah. Kim and Croy go in the other car to go places once they've reached a campground. And I truly don't, I honestly think this is Kim's nightmare situation, but she wants to be on TV.
She has to. They have to do it. I mean, he still owes his agent $22,000. But you know what? At the end of the day,
what?
I guess he owes his sports agent $22,000. That was in... That, as I say, is Vicky Coco told me that. It was in the news. I don't know. It's a rumor. I don't know. I don't know who told me. Somebody told me at the hair shop. I'm not sure. You figure it out.
It happened.
But yeah, I guess he owes money. So they need to make the money. But Croy built her a wig rack, which I was obsessed with. I was like, now this is a guy, because my husband would do that for me. If I was like, if we're going to go in this RV, you have to build me a wig rack. And I love that it was right in front of the window and you could see the wigs from the outside.
They went to the last episode I had watched. I'm ashamed that I watched multiple episodes.
I am too.
I also do not support the family. I do not support anyone watching this show.
I have certain problems more specifically with certain members of the family, which I won't discuss right now, but yeah.
Oh, are there other things? I see, I don't even really know much about the family, so I'm sure I've missed things, but I was shocked that
other things.
Croy from the news. I was shocked that Croy has the same sort of highlights that Kim's wigs do.
And he's got the same makeup as the kids.
Right. They all went to Sephora and just bought one palette.
And it's a really orangey tint. Why is it so orange?
There was not a lot of money in production, so they gave him one tint for the whole family.
One palette. It's the Bierman palette.
They got one rouge and one foundation for the entire clan, and that was it.
Line up. Let's get your rouge on. Not you, Tracy.
The last episode I watched, they went to a haunted house. And it also was it was reminding me, did you watch I Am Kate? Do you remember that with Caitlyn Jenner?
Oh, yes.
It was, the first season started off really strong. It was this really compelling show. And then I feel like the production didn't know exactly what to do with the show. So they threw everyone on an RV. And that always just says we don't know what to do with these people, but we want to film it. So
I thought you were going to say they threw him in a haunted house. I was like, Caitlyn Jenner went into a haunted house? I've got to go back to this.
It was just a bunch of transgender activists just in a haunted house.
Amazing. Now
I'd watch that. I'd watch that.
Idea.
Yeah, I'd watch that. I liked it. I liked the I Am Kate show, but it was just it was clear to me that production was scrambling. What do we do? And I feel like that happens on Bravo sometimes where it's what do we do? What do we program here? Okay, I want to move on to Below Deck Med. Do you keep up with Below Deck Med? Did you watch the reunion?
Yes, this is Captain Sandy tuning in from the Wellington. It's always docked. God, the knots are high. God, I can't get out there.
I am quickly turning on not Dr. Sandy, Captain Sandy.
I know. We all have had it's been a rocky season. And yes, I have loved this season and hated it at the same time, which tells me, wow, 51 Minds, you're doing 51 times. Great job. I always envision 51 Minds, the production company, because they're on that super yacht. They're in a room.
They're filming it. Yeah.
So yeah. And but they have a control center on that yacht. And so they're in this room. And I can't not think about that now after that. I think it was a Times article that somebody wrote about. But I loved it. The Rob and Jess romance was, I felt in the end with Rob, he kind of turned into like Kaiser Sose when he left the room and he was like, I'm going to do the crossing. And then all of a sudden his limp went away and like he went over to talk to the first engineer and he was like, I'm in for the crossing. I was like, whoa, dude, you've been planning this the whole time. You probably don't even have a ticket to Bali. And just their heavy romance was so tumultuous.
It was very Lifetime.
Oh God. And then it was kind of amazing. And then also at the end, I was like, you're seriously going to Bali? Like you're really going? And he went. But yes.
Yeah. Jess really stepped it up at the reunion to me. Like I felt like she went in guns blazing and I liked that side of her. I felt like I wanted more of that during the season. And also, I really dislike Malia.
Yes, that is, I mean, not to like make a pun, but like that was a real hard pill to swallow, a real hard vape pen to smoke was Malia. And just not having any remorse about what she did to Hannah, that never came to light about her. I was like, you're a actual robot, you know?
Yeah. And when Kiko was speaking, she was like laughing at Kiko. And then I saw somebody sent me on social media. She had posted like, we were playing drinking games while they were talking about other things. I wasn't laughing at Kiko or whatever, but she just looked so smug. It was just,
she did.
I've never felt so much disdain. There's been a lot of bad people on this network, but I've never felt such a active disdain watching someone as I think I felt this season watching Malia.
Yes, she's so cold and unfeeling. And I guess that's what a deckhand bosun needs to be. You got to not feel it. You gotta feel like the temperature of the water, cold, ice. I don't know. It's so strange, but she did. And Hannah really came out, I think, at the reunion with that, I need a Valium.
So good.
Mug was a great way to go out. I give her props. It's still controversial with the whole CBD THC pen. It seemed like she kind of did lie, but she had to stick to it, which I'm fully in support of at this point. You just have to ride it out. But it's weird how Sandy she does pick her favorites and she gets so passionate about these people, which that's why I always fell in love with Sandy in the first place, is that she's a passion for the sea. She wants these people. Get in my sea bosom. I want to hold you like Moana. Like she just gets so excited and I just love that about her, Yeah. But then it just took she hates Hannah.
She does hate Hannah. And I was always kind of on the fence with Hannah. Like I thought I liked her enough, but this season I really felt like I will defend her till the death. It was like I got like a new loyalty or something to Hannah, where it was like it came unexpected to myself. It was like it came out of nowhere. All of a sudden I'm watching mid-season and I'm like, who do I have to fight for Hannah? Like
let me tag someone out and I want to get in that ring. I totally agree with you. And even more so too, now her being at the reunion and she's with child. She's wearing white. It's like, let me fight for you. Yeah. I agree.
No, I love her. And Bugsy, I flip on at random. I don't know how I feel about Bugsy.
She's a wild card too. We haven't spent enough time with her as the chief stew. I think time will tell. But what do you think of her tablescapes? As someone who you have an aesthetic eye, like you get it. So what's your feel for these tablescapes?
Yeah, I love, that's the one thing that really is holding me on to Bugsy at this point. That's
right,
truly like the quality that I'm really attaching myself to with Bugsy. The accessories I find, as Coco Chanel and later Countess Luann once said, when you leave the house, you should take off one accessory.
Right.
Amy, you were probably the only one that remembers this. Do you remember Countess Luann had an iPhone app?
An iPhone app? Oh my God, no! I'm ashamed to not.
You should be, but she had an iPhone app that was. It had tips on it, and I wish the app has since been discontinued. And I bought it. It was like $2.99 or whatever, and I can't even put it on my phone. Like even though I purchased it, it's like missing in the ether. But before it went under, I took a couple screenshots because she had one section of the app where you got tips from the Countess. And she would say things like, before you leave the house, take off an accessory, which was, of course, Coco Chanel. But I always like to attribute it to Luann because of that app.
Right. I like that she took credit for it too, by the way.
Of course she did.
Someone once said, that was me. I said this. Yeah.
There are also like really mean things in the tips part of the app where it was like, unless you're Eva Longoria, don't always wear sleeves to the beach or something like that. Like they were mean, like crazy. I'm going to dig out my screenshots because I have some.
Really good. This is a good scoop. And I am not surprised that somebody didn't take the time to, update the app so that it could be compatible. I think now is the time to re-release this app. Countess?
100%. There was also a portion of it like that you could, I don't even know what you call it, like a section of the app where you could take a picture and insert Luann into your picture. So it was like, a Photoshop thing. And so I also have a bunch of photos of like my nephews or family members just like with Luann. I went to an Adele concert and I have a picture. This was also like before Adele really like blew up, but I was at an Adele concert and it was a very small venue. And so I was pretty close and Adele's sitting on stage and I was trying to take a picture, but I was in Vegas and I had like way too many vodka sodas. And so I have a picture like of Luann with Adele because I couldn't open just I was too drunk to like open just the photo app on my phone. I could only open the Countess Luann app.
Oh my God. She bugged your phone. She took over your phone. She made it so that she's the only app you could open. That's amazing.
There's
all the other apps.
a period of my life where it's just like all my photos, like personal photos just have Luann in it. God, and it's like season 3 Luann. It's not even current Luann.
I mean, she doesn't have that body she has today. She looks great then, but today, wowzers.
Yeah, she looks amazing. Better
She's
than
smoking.
Ever. Yeah.
It's
Same
amazing.
with Sonia too. So, I mean, they look like insane.
I know. It's great.
I know that people have said this multiple times, but it's like, I really do want to know Sonia's plastic surgeon or doctor because like, I truly think they do the best work and I want to know that.
She's very into promoting people. So I'm sure she can tell you.
We can get that info. But so Bugsy, I like her tablescapes.
Oh yeah. It all comes back to a tablescape. Yeah.
I like the tablescapes, but other than that, she confused me. And also I think her allegiance to Malia really screwed with my head. In ways, just because I dislike Malia so much. Anyway, any other final thoughts on Below Deck Med?
I loved the Tom as the chef. I loved it. I thought the drama was so great. I loved his little hissy fits. He was like, oh, I can't believe this. And he would storm off and it was so awesome. And I am sad that I know he won't return. But that is the kind of drama that I do want in a chef. God, I love Kiko. I love him to death. But he's not the kind of drama that I want to watch. I don't need to see a nice chef. I don't need to fall in love with a chef. I want to despise him. I want to see him be like really good at what he does and overreact over everything. Just rip gloves off, throw biscuits in the garbage. I mean, I loved it. And I'm bummed that we're never going to see him again. He made great TV.
He was good TV. He was crazy. And also like in an evil villain kind of way, attractive. I found him very attractive. Not once I got to know his personality. But when I first saw him, I was like, oh, I'm very into this look. And then I got to know him and I was like, not anymore. But
let me
you're
ask
right.
You this. If you were in a relationship with him and his whole thing was like to talk and cat talk to like as foreplay, he was like, meow, 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 meow. Would you put up with that?
No, I couldn't do it. No.
Okay, well.
I don't like the baby talk.
The rubber meets the road.
I don't like the voices. I mean, would I have sex? Sure. But it would end there, Yeah. You mentioned that he's someone we hate, but that is good for the show. And I'm so fascinated right now. Particularly with Orange County Housewives, I feel like everyone's talking about like there was a boycott thing, and I'm not covering Orange County on this show, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it in depth, but I'm not covering it.
Right, sure.
I do not endorse it, but we are going to talk about it in detail.
Okay.
But I'm curious where you stand on that because
Yeah.
It is confusing, I think. I've been having trouble with the whole thing.
And I hear and I see and I believe and I agree with what everyone's saying about Kelly Dodd. So I just wonder really what happens at the end of the season. Is this, they just are waiting until the end of the season and they say, you're leaving, and she's like, Rick and I are gonna, we're moving to New York now. Like she's done. And I don't know. I just, I was always going to watch it no matter what. I definitely reserve the right to stop watching it at any time, but I am very curious to see how this pandemic is going to be portrayed, how the all of the different sects that are going to move, into their groups and split with what's going on politically through the pandemic. I am really fascinated to see how this is going to play out. So far, my expectations were like, when I say low, I mean bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
And I really didn't think the premiere was that bad at all. In fact, I was like, oh, this was great. I mean, definitely not exactly the most cohesive, but I was so fascinated with the Gina Keogh narration at the beginning. I
thought that was good.
Okay. So I loved that. And then I thought that the second episode was the moment between Emily and Gina really stood out to me, and I really love that. So I don't know what's going to happen next. I need to see Gina pull it all together. That's important.
You mean Gina Keogh at the very end is just going to hop in? Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to hop in.
Gina Keogh is just going to show up at the finale party, and she's going to tie things up.
And then Gina,
she's going to be the one. She's going to be the one to tell Kelly Dodd that you're moving on.
Yes, in a narration voice, just like the voice of God. And then Long Island Gina is going to be like, Gina is moving into my tiny condo with me and not Matt. Whatever the new guy's name is, Travis. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I think it's so controversial and very wild that we're in this time. And I want to live through it and see what happens.
Yeah. I've gotten so many messages and I'm not, I don't cover every show on this podcast. I try to pick and choose usually what I recap. And I've realized that it's best if I keep it around 2 shows. Otherwise I get fucking crazy. I don't know how you do it. And or the Crappens guys and oh my God, you guys do all of these shows. And I watch them mostly, but the ones I dissect scene by scene, it's I try to just stick to 2, but I've gotten so many messages. I know people are so upset about it. And it's I've gotten messages saying don't you dare cover Orange County. And then when I said I wasn't covering it, I got the opposite of I can't believe you're not covering it. It's disgusting. And it's just a lot. And we all are trying to do our best kind of. And it's hard when we're all getting those kind of messages. It's we're trying to be socially responsible, but also we're trying to make people laugh and take the piss out of this show. And
that's a really good point. And that's why, I respect people who made that decision. I think that's great. I also think that, when it comes time to talk about it, like you said, if it's time to make fun of the choices that these people are making on the show, then it's time to make fun of the choices that they're making on the show. I just turned into Shannon Bedore. I don't know why. But that's and we reserve the right to do that, which I think is, there's a world that exists where we can all be happy, bubble, and do what we want to do. And I think it's great when people can draw the line at something. I know I draw the line at stuff too. So I don't fault anybody for not wanting to watch. That's fine.
Yeah. What do you make of the Tamara of it all? Because in the second episode, Tamara's brought up a lot. I was shocked that because the first episode they did bring her up a little, maybe, or there was a flashback or something. But in the second episode, I'm this whole thing's about Tamara now. She's the glue, and she's the one they got rid of. That doesn't make any sense.
I know. It's almost like she is the puppet master off of the show. I mean, my mind was blown when Bronwyn was like, Dr. Deb, I mean, not that she calls her mom Dr. Deb, but she's like, Dr. Deb and Tamara were talking today. And I was like, what? Why? Cut that off. We don't need that.
And didn't you think it was just going to be that one mention? But then every scene they were Gina was yeah. And then I talked to Tamara and she talked to Dr. Deb. And then Emily's I talked to Tamara too. I'm what is happening? And why didn't production step in and say, we need to just say you talked to a friend or something?
No doubt. And Tamara she was having a hard time. Tamara, I think, was having a really hard time cutting like the purse strings, if you will. Apron strings, purse strings. What is it? I'm not sure. And or puppet strings.
Apron strings.
Apron strings.
Is that
There's it's like a motherly thing, like apron strings, like the child holds on to the apron strings. It's anyway. Metaphoric. God, sorry. Let me get back to the sea. Let me give you some metaphors about the ocean.
Sandy.
I lost you there. God, dig deep. Throw the anchor. Yeah, I think Tamara had a really hard time letting go. And it's like, girl, let go. Let the ship sail without you, which I know she eventually did. But I think she was probably like, just out of habit. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, 12 years. I don't know how long she was on there. She was on it for a long time. But there's this weird thing that happens when all the housewives leave. And I don't know if I've talked about this on this show, but it always bugs me when somebody leaves the show. And then, of course, they're talked about because they've been with us for so long. So naturally, they might come up a little bit. But I always hate then when on social media or in interviews or something, like that person, let's say Tamara, is like, they won't stop talking to me about me. And like, they have the power to then say that. Do you know what I'm saying?
And there's that back and forth happening right now between Tamara and Shannon, the Tres Amigas. They're all mad at each other. Well, I mean, the two are mad at, the dos are mad at the uno, you know?
Right. So they're doing a lot of that amigo work too in the new season, where it's just like we're just counting out numbers. Right. We're really holding on to that Tres Amigas thing, which I didn't think really caught on as much as we're all holding on to it.
I agree. I totally agree. Like, guys, it didn't catch fire. All right, this was not fire. You really tried. You worked at it. I appreciate it, but we're not holding on to it. But it is funny. It makes me think behind it all. And I'm just a little skeptical, obviously, sometimes, as we all are. But I start to think like, oh, well, Shannon and Tamara and Vicky, you guys are all still really good friends and you're just plotting and just trying to move on to the next thing that you're going to do.
Right. Yeah, it feels that way. I think Tamara will be back. And to be honest with you, like I always hated Tamara. I was calling for her to leave the show for years. And then now I'm like, I think we need her back. Like I miss her now. And that's
a perfect example. And, we're talking about the state of the housewives. And I love that example, which is what you just gave, which is what we all do, which is what I love about it. And we can love a housewife. We can hate a housewife for so long. And then we can turn and love them again. Love them like we never have before. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Or we stand them for so long. And then all of a sudden, they steal a meme and we're like, I've never liked her. It's interesting how, the wind blows in different directions.
I mean, Kelly Dodd too. I think so many of us were like huge Kelly Dodd fans. You mentioned the meme thing, and that happened on Instagram at Brands by Bravo had posted a meme, and Erica Jane had reposted it.
I reposted. I stole it, bitch.
And the Brands by Bravo account very nicely, I thought, had commented on the post saying, like, thank you for posting or whatever. And would you be able to credit me? And then Erica came back like guns blazing about the meme. And I was like, what's going on? Why is Erica getting so upset about this?
Why is she wanting to die on that hill?
It was a weird thing.
I was very confused.
And those are like your biggest fans. Like the meme account, like we're all like the big fans, and we're the people who make that kind of content, like we love these shows and these people,
right?
So it seems like you should be nicer to those people.
And honestly, well, I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, some of the meme accounts and the Bravo accounts, we drag the shit out of the housewives. Right, that's also part of it. So they have no allegiance to us. They should have no allegiance to me. On my show, I talk about them every day. They should say, "Bitch, I will sue you." No, edit that out. But like, I'm just saying they shouldn't have allegiance to us. However, the real nice, polite thing to do would have to have credited her immediately. And I've seen plenty of housewives, they do it all the time. And it's really not a big deal. She just didn't get it, which was so strange. She just does not understand the meme thing. And
it's a hard thing, like I've had so many people steal my memes that I've made, and it's like, it can be so frustrating as you're trying to like grow an account. It's, I know the argument against it is like, well, it's a picture of Erica, but it's like, right. It's still she a joke.
Right. It's a concept. It's a joke. Yeah.
And when you're on the other end of it and you're seeing like she reposts it and gets millions of likes and you posted it and got 30 likes or whatever the number is, it can be very upsetting. So hashtag,
Absolutely.
hashtag justice for brands by Bravo.
Yes, Brands by Bravo. Sorry. Here's the apology that you're never gonna get. I'm sorry.
I'm just remembering. Remember when Erica Jane wrote a letter? Who did she write a letter to? Did she write a letter to Camille?
I write letters to Tom because he doesn't live in the same house. We're pen pals.
Didn't she write a letter to say sorry your house burned down or something?
Oh my God. No, she wrote it to Vanderpump about the death of her mother, right?
Okay. Yeah, I just remember the letter.
Or is it another letter? She took a picture of it. And it was like a condolence thing, like, I'm so sorry for your loss. And Lisa was like, you never reached out. And she's like, I've got the picture right here. And you're like, whoa, that's dark. You took a picture of a condolence note? That's fucking weird.
Posted it on Instagram.
Yeah. And she's like,
because I knew you were going to come back at me for something.
I don't know why. I was thinking it was sorry your house burned down, Camille.
I know. I love that you made it about.
Why would she send that? That's the letter I like.
Plus, never mind. I was going to.
Okay. Speaking of Beverly Hills, there's rumors about Tori Spelling, which we know aren't true. Every year this happens where Tori Spelling plants rumors.
Poor Tori.
Tori calls up Page 6 and says, I'm joining the Housewives, and then she doesn't. But I did hear that she filmed with Teddy 1 or 2 seasons ago as part of her accountability program. And they did film. So I don't know. I don't think Tori will ever be a main housewife because if she filmed, they would have aired it. They didn't even air her
that hit the cutting room floor.
Yeah. But would you want to see her?
No. But when I was reading, it said that Tori and Candy, her mom, were going to join, and Kathy Hilton was going to join too, and that Kyle and Kim both have issues with Candy. And I was like, oh, sign me up for that.
Yeah.
If we have to take Tori because we're getting Candy, no problem. If that's the package deal that you're selling, I will take it, But I don't know. I don't need Tori on Real Housewives. I watched her reality shows in the past.
I love that you won't watch her on this network, but you'll watch every other minute of content.
I want to have a positive angle on it and say that she can carry a show on her own. She doesn't need to be on the Real Housewives because there's that much drama that surrounds her life that is crazy and frantic and manic. And you visit her storage that it looks like a museum storage. It's insane. There's the choices and the Dean thing. Wild ride. So
I have a weird allegiance to Tori that I feel I think, and this isn't popular, but I think she'd make a good friend of. I always harken back to that Benihana grill moment. And I think Bravo, if we had the opportunity to witness that whole saga.
Can you break it down and narrate Gina Keogh and tell me that Benihana?
I don't remember the full details, but I remember it involved a Benihana grill or a hibachi grill. And I just think what if we got to witness Tori Spelling in a Benihana with the other Housewife cast members. And I just feel we'd be remembering that forever, the way we remember Aviva's leg toss or some of these other moments. And I have an allegiance because I love that movie Trick. Did you ever see that? It was one of those straight to DVD gay movies that Tori played the female lead in it. And I remember sneaking in my parents' basement to watch it. This was 99 or 97 or something. And since then, and I love 90210 too.
I love 90210. And you're making me almost rethink. Now I'm actually curious. I'm thinking about it harder than I did before. But if you were to take Dean out of the scenario, although he might pop in here and there, and you put her around other women, I just wonder what that dynamic would actually look like. I'm not sure. It could end up being one of those things where we're all oh, no. And then she just brings it. That would be interesting, but it's not happening. So forget it.
It's not happening. And I do like the idea of we're just sticking to people who aren't celebrities,
yes, I agree with you. Yes.
It's important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I read they're moving away from hiring actors and stuff.
Because it's hard when you're watching Denise and Rinna have this scene where it just looks like they're in a soap opera.
Yeah.
Because they've been in soap operas. So you're I don't know what to believe here.
I did love that sit down at the end of the season. I thought last season was good at Beverly Hills. I think I was like the only one, but I feel like it was good season.
It had so much intensity around it that it absolutely was a great season. And I am so bummed that Denise is not coming back.
RHONY. So Heather's returning. It looks like Ramona had posted a picture out to lunch with Luann and Heather Halla Thompson. Heather was just on this program like last week or 2 weeks ago, and she said that we'll see her again. And from what I understand, she's not going to be a main housewife, but we will see her pop in next season.
Great.
That's like kind of like what I heard. But again, everything I hear is hearsay, and maybe I don't even know where I hear these things from. Like sometimes
in your
just
dreams.
a stranger DM at my dream, an angel comes to me.
Rob from below deck.
Gina Keogh's voice just pops in my head, and it's like Heather is coming back.
All day.
We also have a new housewife, Ebony. She's coming. Are you excited for RHONY? How are you feeling about Dorinda?
Yes, I'm excited about the new house. I'm excited about the new housewife, Ebony. Interesting about Heather. I did Hala. I think.
Hey, mama.
Yummy
Hey,
tummy, mama. Motherfucker.
Don't tell me anything, motherfucker. My favorite is that sit down between her and Aviva when they're talking about Anna Nicole Smith, and Aviva compared Sonia to Anna Nicole Smith, and Heather is like, she was a mess. You know, she had alcohol issues, whatever. And Aviva's like, she was beloved. And Heather's like, she died, Aviva. And like, they're just arguing about Anna Nicole Smith's life at that point.
Oh, wow. Wow. I do not remember that.
Scene for the ages.
Heather really, really grounds things. I know that she kind of wore on some people after a while, and I think it was a great exit the time that she exited. I think it's a wonderful time for her to return. She really grounds the show, if in fact she's going to be a part of it. I have a very difficult time thinking of her around all of these women who drink so much, and that would be such a conflict because she would hold them accountable, and it would be really difficult for her the whole time to just be sitting there like, kind of like the wet blanket in a way is what she'd end up being.
Yeah.
But now that Dorinda's gone, I think there's room for Heather for that dynamic because it's not as much of a train wreck in that capacity because of the drinking. And also Leah's on the sober train, and it looks like she's not going to be drinking too. So I really think, and I don't know Ebony's story, but it seems to me like, and if Luann is kind of, I don't know where she's going in her journey, but it's the perfect timing for Heather. And one of my favorite all-time scenes of Housewives in general is the scene when they go to Atlantic City and Heather is yelling at Sonia in the foyer outside because Sonia won't let them in and it's raining outside, and she is swearing and she's like, your fucking intern won't let us in. How dare you? That's so rude. And they're yelling in this limo. And Ramona's like, okay, you guys, okay, everybody stop. And Ramona was the voice of reason for once. And it was very strange. And I love that moment because she would take shit from anybody, that Heather.
That whole episode is one of the best. Truly, I just rewatched it recently, and it's like
You did?
Yeah, I recapped it. I think on Patreon, which is patreon.com/everythingiconic. You can go listen there.
Listen, I'm gonna listen because I don't have your Patreon. Can you send me?
I'll send it to you. Yeah, but I just rewatched it. It's like a weird play or something. Like it's and it's Shakespearean, and like Heather talks about how she would go out with Sonia and have to carry her up her stairs. And she gives this monologue that, first of all, is like a monologue for the ages, but then the whole episode is just in a limo, and only the RHONY cast could get like a full episode out of a limo ride.
Yes.
That Atlantic City episode is one of the all-time greatest RHONY, but only RHONY could get that much content out of a limo ride. They're just the best.
Yes, agree.
Okay, I'm breaking down Potomac. Where do you stand with Candace and Monique? Whose side are you on?
You know, I have to tell you, I'm not really team either one. I mean, they're both so, Candace really knows how to push those buttons. She just provokes so hard. And I just can't stand by Monique with the rage, the attack and the rage. And her point about provoking, it absolutely stands. I totally agree. But the fact that she didn't have any remorse in the end, unfortunately, and to this day is disturbing.
Yeah,
I love Dr. Ken. He's calling out Candace for the things. Dr. Ken is a therapist that Candace went to, and he was asking her all the right questions, and she wasn't taking ownership of what she did either. How do you feel?
You know, I feel similarly. I don't think Candace gets it. I was on Candace's side at first, I think. And then now just seeing that she doesn't seem to also have any remorse. I know they keep pointing out like Monique doesn't have any remorse, but then I'm like, well, I do think there is some accountability that she should take in that. And it's an interesting thing. I was thinking how we are as humans pushed to the limit sometimes. And while I don't condone violence in that way, of course, I think there are times where it's like, you're not even conscious of sort of how you're moving or acting in weird ways. And yes, you should then you should have to take responsibility if you act out and physically fight someone. I get that.
Yeah.
But I do understand that like sort of feeling of seeing red, which I can't say the word seeing red without thinking of Valerie Cherish, but that's a whole nother thing.
Oh my God, I love it. I hear you too, because I think that it's such an incredible example in the world of Housewives, because it almost seems like we were due for another one of these situations where someone loses their shit on somebody who continues to provoke them and they put hands on them. It's a tale as old as time, Danny. Really here we are. And so now, like, what are we going to do about it? How do we move forward? What is Bravo going to do? Are they going to draw the line moving forward? How do they handle this situation? And how do they handle, like, do they fire both of them? Do they fire Monique because she actually did get violent? Are they going to set the bar to the point where it's like, Monique, you're going to be an example. Unfortunately, we have to let you go because of what you did. We understand there's two sides of the story, but like, you have to be responsible for what you did. And Candace, if she's not sorry, that's on her. But she actually didn't do any, she didn't physically harm you.
Right.
So are they going to make an example out of her? I don't know. Because moving forward, there's always going to be that housewife that's going to just poke. And they're just going to they're like a fucking fly. You just want to slap them out of the way. I totally get that. That's on every city has that, you know? So what are you going to do when the time comes down to it at a wine tasting?
And I think when those people who are doing the provoking, in a lot of ways, they are saying to the other person, like, I mean, Candace literally said, drag me, Monique. But it's like with Portia and Kenya, it's like Kenya had the megaphone in Portia's face and the scepter and stuff. And it's like, well, you're asking for something. You're not necessarily asking for a physical violence, but like you're asking for a reaction. And when it comes to a reaction, you can't always control that reaction. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm condoning. I certainly don't condone violence.
I think that you're making the point that we all, there's a response aspect to, there's the point of where it starts, and then there's a response. And so there are two sides to that. My biggest issue is that, the fact that to this day, Monique still doesn't have remorse, because that is where I get like real upset. Portia had it instantaneously.
Right. Yeah, she was on the floor crying, saying, what did I do?
What did I do?
What did I do? What did I do? What did I do?
Brought me to that point. Because I relate with Portia. Like, I get that's where the difference is. Like, I know they're not the same situation. However, I can relate with Portia. I can relate with being like, get that fucking bullhorn out of my face. Stop pointing that scepter at me. And you're saying these awful things to me. Like, I get it. But, when you take it to the next level, and then people can do that. Also, the Danielle and Margaret situation. I mean, Tamara threw wine in Gina Keogh's face. Right.
Or remember the wig? What was the wig shift? I always think of the wig shift. That was sort of the one that started it all, really.
Was that Sheree and Kim? Yeah.
With Michael Lohan in the background. Oh, simpler times. Yeah, there's always these, it makes for very interesting TV, because I think we all watch it and we all sort of think, what would we do in that situation and how would we react? And I totally do agree. Like Monique, I don't know why she hasn't come out and said, I'm sorry and that was wrong. And it feels like she's talking around it a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on board with that. And then hiding behind the lawsuit, where it's like, I was going to reach out and talk to her, but my lawyer wanted me to be a part of it. So we couldn't, because they weren't responding. It's like, no, you could have called without your lawyer and just simply said, I'm sorry, despite the fact that she pressed charges. So
how can you even imagine a season hypothetically next year without T'Challa? Like, how did
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
How do they go on without the bird? Like, does Andy hire the bird separately and like pay them a fee?
I think that's what they do. And I also want Chris in my life. So I'm really...
It's tough. It's tough. Okay, last thing. Southern Charm.
Mm.
You know, did you watch the premiere of Southern Charm? Like the upcoming?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Did you see? I can say that Thomas has said that he did film something for Southern Charm. So that's not a spoiler because he had said that.
Okay. He also said he's getting married without a prenup.
Oh, did he really?
Yes.
Oh, I feel frustrated that they got rid of all the women. I don't know where I said this. Maybe I talked about it on this show. I don't remember, but it seems like we had that one season a couple of years ago where it was like such a beautiful moment of like the women banding together against like the good old boy system of the South.
Yes,
and
it was like the Me Too era movement time. And
I think we all left that season being like, oh, this was great. And I thought a powerful statement on sort of where we're at. And maybe this upcoming season will be that in other ways, but it just seems like then we negated all of that because they were like, we're going to get rid of all the women on the show. And
I know. Well, they all left.
Not all of them, but
like they wanted to leave. Naomi's like, bye-bye. Like she left. And Chelsea Masner was like, I'm just going to flip some houses and go surfing. Like, so
I don't think it was Chelsea's choice. I think Chelsea.
No, you're right. Chelsea was canned. And then
I'm shocked Chelsea was on as long as she was. How did Chelsea last that long, really, when you think about it? It's like, what? How do they even cast her? I don't even understand that. But
there's a lack of people in the South that wanted to be on the show, so here I am. So
that's a good Chelsea. I liked when she redid the apartment as a rainforest cafe. It was just like, she just sold it, I think. But
she did because she did. It was an emotional Insta story.
That was her storyline last year of like she went to Home Goods and got a bunch of forest decor.
God, you're killing me.
But Cam and we talked about this, but it's like I felt that Cam should go, and then now that she's gone, I'm like, why did we let her go? You know,
she had to take a stand against Catherine. She couldn't have it. She couldn't be on the show with Catherine if Catherine was going to stay. It was kind of like one or the other.
She plays a decent role in the premiere, and I don't want to give any spoilers. But
Cameron or Catherine?
Cameron.
Oh, really?
Catherine's in it, but Cameron.
Let me ask you this: does Gina Keogh narrate the beginning? That's all.
I missed Cameron's narration.
Oh,
Cameron's no longer narrating, and I missed that.
I can do that for you, no problems. It's going to be an exciting season. It's about race and things in the South and house flipping.
Who do you think out of the entire Bravo network, like who do you think is most apt to be narrating? Like in the way that Cameron did on Southern Charm or Gina just did on the premiere, like who would you like to see in your dream of dreams narrating an episode?
Oh my God. That is such a good question.
I feel like it's Stephanie from like Dallas, and I feel like what's happening to Steven is like I feel like everyone's like at odds, and I feel like right now we just need to come together, and I feel like in New York City, I feel like Ramona is really going to get along with Ebony, and I feel like
I don't know.
Some of these people I could never picture them. Like I could never picture Stephanie in New York. Like not even, I can barely picture her like
not even on vacation.
No, right. Like not even walking the streets, like, I don't know, to an M&M world. Like I can't even imagine that. It just seems like she's so Dallas and not.
Yeah. No, I can't answer that question because they're all cartoon characters to me. So like whenever I'm thinking of who, I'm like, oh, maybe Luann because she's got that low voice. But then I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Taking this all full circle, when I was watching last night in my emotional state, Crisis of Faith, I was watching Don't Be Tardy, and Kim Zolciak was in Ohio, which is where I'm from, and my brain wasn't able to compute that. Like they were in Columbus, I think, and to me, yeah, they are, like you said, cartoon characters. And I was like, what's Kim doing in Ohio? Like, why is the wig in Ohio? Like, I didn't understand that. My brain kind of function.
Too close to home, man. That's too close to home. Mm-hmm.
Amy, this was so fun.
Bring it full circle.
Did I miss any important Bravo State of the World things? Vanderpump Rules, we didn't talk about that. Do you think there's a future for it?
If it's going to be around like the Tom thing where it's like Ariana, Tom, Katie, that world, I think it can survive and pivot But other than that, I would love to see them go to Vegas and do Vanderpump Gardens and have a fresh new start at Vanderpump. How about you? What are your thoughts on that?
I feel similarly. I kind of I don't want the same iteration. And I don't even at this point want like a full shift on the show. I just want a fresh start, if that makes sense. Like I don't even want them to sort of pivot to new people on Vanderpump Rules. I want all new people. But I don't want to get rid of, like I love Ariana and Tom and Gina and a couple of them. But I don't know. There's such a stink attached to it. And
there really is. And maybe we just need to close that book, not the chapter, the book.
And it felt like such a good ending at the end.
It did.
Like outside of the news cycle, like that finale felt so close-ended.
Yes, they did a great job with that. Almost like they knew what was coming.
Right. Yeah. And the idea of watching like Jax again, I just can't even. I can't.
Yeah, I don't want to go to Valley Village and just like follow the families at this point. I think that could be a show in and of itself somewhere else. That's great. But I'm not really down with that. Yeah,
and I don't even know where we go. It's like if they do it at SUR, we're still in a pandemic. Like, why don't see us really getting out of this for a while? And it's like, do I want to watch them serving the 3 people outside? Because there's not a lot of tables outdoors at that restaurant. So it's like
they're stressing out. I'm like, I have 3 tables. Oh my God, you sat 1 and 3 at the same time. What am I going to do? Yeah.
No, it's like they don't need a host. There's no host that's needed. Lala doesn't need to show up.
Pajama party for 7 people. Like it's going to be DJing for no one.
It's just so sad, like to see those couple little outdoor seating. And so that's why I'm not really interested. But they've proven me wrong before. We always think certain things are done and then they reboot and refresh and they're better than ever. So
I'm always up to be proven wrong. Always.
Right. Yeah. Amy, this was so fun. I love you. And tell people about your show. And
please listen to Radio Andy on Sirius XM. It's channel 102. My show is Reality Checked Monday through Friday. It's 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific.
And it's so good. You cover Don't Be Tardy.
I did it one time, but I'm doing The Bachelorette instead in that slot right now. I'm doing The Bachelorette. Exciting. And then on Fridays, I'm doing The Vow, which I'm doing the conclusion this Friday, which has been such a wonderful journey. And like right now we're doing Below Deck, Med, and we'll get into the regular Below Deck, then Southern Charm, OC. We do almost all the shows.
My favorite thing is the Thanksgiving Day parade, and they're doing like a digital or they're doing some other version of it where it's not going to be like for the public. They're going to do the Thanksgiving parade like pre-taped and you can't get to it or can't see it or whatever. And I was joking with my boyfriend. I was saying they're going to be the most bizarre floats and stuff because they're not going to be able to get the normal kind of people. And I was saying they're going to have like the cast of The Vow singing with pentatonics, like it's going to be like,
oh my God,
all of them doing like Up on the Housetop or something, like in a weird streamed version of the parade.
Anyway. Wow, that is blowing my mind. I need to see that.
Where can people find you on social media?
Oh, meet Amy Phillips. If you have a better Insta name for me, please let me know. Want to change it? I've been wanting to change it forever. Meet Amy Phillips on Instagram, Amy Phillips _ on Twitter.
You make me laugh so much. Thank you for coming on Everything Iconic.
Likewise.
I want to tell everyone to please find me on social media at Danny Pellegrino on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to watch this chat, I'm going to try to upload it to the new YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Danny Pellegrino and the number 1. I should have maybe told people that at the beginning, since they've already would have listened to this. But go subscribe and all that. Over there. And if you want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/everythingiconic and you can get those bonus episodes. I'm recapping Sex and the City from the beginning over there, which is fun and wild and crazy. So I'm just doing 1 episode a month. Finally, if you want to buy any of the Everything Iconic merch, just go to EverythingIconic.store. We have t-shirts. We just got some new stuff in, so go there. Amy, I love you. Thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
So